This is FARFETCH Threads, our people podcast, where you can hear the real stories about life as a Farfetcher.
Hello, and welcome to FARFETCH Threads, our people podcast. My name is Amanda Henderson, and I will be co-hosting this episode with Santiago Soto. Santi and I are on the partner success team, and our role at FARFETCH is to help our partners reach their full business potential in the marketplace by providing strategic operational support.
Hello, I am Santi, and today we're going to be discussing the Americas market at FARFETCH with our guest, Jeffrey Fowler, President of the Americas. Welcome, Jeff. It's nice to have you.
Nice to be here. Good to be with you guys.
Welcome, Jeff. We're excited to have you on today's episode. So why don't we kick things off, Jeff, if you could tell us a bit about yourself and your role at FARFETCH.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So as Santi mentioned, my name is Jeff Fowler, and I'm President of the Americas for FARFETCH. I've been at the company now for almost 4.5 years, joined in late 2016. My role is really to work closely with all of the areas of our business that cover the Americas geographically, North America and South America, working with teams that work with customers, with partners, with different varying business units within the FARFETCH group. And sort of most notably, I sort of have three main responsibilities. One is what we consider our North America region, that's encompassing the United States and Canada, again, customers and partners alike. Then the South America business, which is led out of our Sao Paulo office by my colleague Daniel. We have teams located in Sao Paulo as well as in Mexico. And this is the entire South America and Central American continents. Then we have an area of our business called Stadium Goods, which is a separate business unit to FARFETCH.com. We acquired this business in January of 2019. The business is led by its co-founders and co-CEOs, John McFeeters and Jed Stiller. And I work really closely with the Stadium Goods team, representing them at the executive board level of FARFETCH. It's really an interesting mix of responsibilities. I get the pleasure to work with incredible teams in our business. And yeah, absolutely love the challenges that we get to face every day.
Amazing. And prior to FARFETCH, you have extensive experience in leadership roles for companies in the luxury sector. So can you tell us what that's been like?
Sure. Yeah. It's funny. I sort of consider, where did I get my start in this industry? I think probably like many, I actually started when I was even in high school selling clothes in retail stores and learning the trade, I think, from the front lines. I worked, it wasn't quite luxury. I think my first retail job was Banana Republic, and worked at another company which has long since gone out of business. That was a t-shirt company, just, folding stock and inventory, selling to customers, dealing with customer service challenges, ringing up sales, restocking, all those things. A few years after I graduated college, I got my first sort of real taste, I think, of what we would consider the luxury industry, working for a company that's actually a part of the luxury home furnishings space, an American company called Anakini. It's a company that sells incredibly beautiful bed linens, bath linens, custom furniture, beautiful products, amazing products, expensive products. And I really learned a lot about the craftsmanship and the heritage that goes into creating a luxury product, and more importantly, a luxury brand. And had the chance to work with an incredible entrepreneur, a lady called Susan Dollenmeyer, who's the founder and CEO of Anakini. I went to business school, left business school in 2007 in the middle of a recession. Actually worked as a consultant for a little bit of time. I worked with Bain, got some really great training working for Bain in London. I was living in Europe at the time, and then re-entered the luxury industry with Louis Vuitton. And kind of in a bit of a roundabout, circular story, my first job with Louis Vuitton was working in a store. I was hired in to be an assistant store manager of one of the locations in London, in Knightsbridge, not far from Harrods, just down the road. It's called Louis Vuitton Sloane Street. And I was responsible for leading the leather goods and accessories teams, the after-sales service and repairs teams. And a funny story, one of the co-managers of that store is now a colleague of mine here at FARFETCH. She works in our private client team, Rita Costa Almeida, so we have a bit of a shared history there. Shout out to Rita. We both kind of trace our careers back to this same store in London. And getting that store experience again, getting some managerial experience, working for a global luxury powerhouse like Louis Vuitton was a really incredible experience. Kind of worked my way through the Louis Vuitton system for a few years, and eventually got transferred to another luxury brand within the LVMH portfolio called Tag Heuer, a watch brand based out of Switzerland. I was responsible for leading retail for Tag Heuer across North America, and eventually left LVMH to join a rival group called Richemont, where I was the vice president of retail for Cartier, the luxury jeweler, and was also, again, similarly responsible for leading all the retail businesses of Cartier in North America. And I think at that stage, I had probably, about 7 or 8 years of experience in the industry, working with a variety of different brands. One thing these brands all had in common was they all shared a rough age of about 175 years old. These were not young brands. These were not startup. They were heritage brands. And you learn a lot about working for heritage brands, about the importance of the history, the storytelling, the fact that you're kind of a bit of a link in a chain of this really rich patrimony of creation and beautiful products. Something was kind of causing me to, consider other opportunities. And I sure enough left Cartier to join Tesla, which I think was about as far in the opposite direction as you could go in terms of the age of the company, the industry of the company. But what was unique to this, for me anyway, with this opportunity was the skills that I was bringing to the table. They were very similar skills in terms of leading, groups of stores, selling premium product, obviously with Tesla, selling that in a retail environment. Most Tesla locations where you would buy a car are located in, places like shopping malls or high streets rather than, big car dealerships. And it was my opportunity to experience, what life was like within a high growth company, a company that was considered and rightly considered a disruptor, disrupting the spaces of retail, of energy, of automotive, at a lightning fast pace. And it was just an incredible learning opportunity. And I guess to sort of complete the career journey piece, lo and behold, an opportunity came my way to join FARFETCH. And I think FARFETCH for me represented the best of both worlds, the best of the luxury sector, where I had spent a lot of my career kind of learning about the importance of branding, the importance of marketing and product and customer and all those things. And then this kind of high growth, hyper growth startup world that Tesla inhabited. But it was the two sort of fused together. And as I met more and more people at FARFETCH, certainly as I met the executive team and just learned about their vision and the way that they were thinking about transforming the industry, I was captivated. I took the plunge, and I've been here ever since. So 4.5 years now at FARFETCH.
Well, we're so excited to have you, and what a super inspiring career path you've had.
Amazing. Like Amanda said, love to hear it in the most sincere of the ways. 2 quick questions on that. Can you get us that Banana Republic plug?
I'm not sure my discount is still good. I'm not sure I have any sway at Banana Republic, but I'll see what I can do.
I'll slack you offline later just to see what we can do. And following up with that, you've had an amazing career. You've worked across the globe, literally, and FARFETCH is one of those global companies. You've had the chance to experience different markets and not only to be a part of them, but to, in certain ways, help form them. So my follow-up question is going to be, what is specific or what key attributes does the Americas market have?
That's a great question, Santi. And I get this question a lot. And people are like, tell us about the Americas. Tell us about the United States market. And it's an impossible question to answer in a way, because you're sort of trying to capture a massive market, an incredibly heterogeneous market with, a few bullet points, and you can't. I think, markets can't really be distilled down to just mere bullet points. The United States market is a massively diverse and complex market. What customers might be looking for in Miami, Florida is vastly different from what they might be looking for in Seattle, Washington, or, and obviously with Canada to our north, customers in Vancouver in some ways might resemble more closely customers in Hong Kong than they would customers in California. So it's a really, really heterogeneous market. It's part of what I think makes it interesting. It's, a diverse, changing landscape. And we get the opportunity to work with teams that, many of our teams just have incredible amounts of expertise in the nuances of our market, and just to be able to tap into their knowledge and sort of work collaboratively to make sure we're always trying to stay at pace with our consumers, whose lives and behaviors are changing rapidly. It's really one of the funnest parts of the job, if I'm honest. The market is big. You know, the United States market historically has always been a big one for the luxury sector. Americans are consumers. You know, we have a consumption-based economy. It used to be that we had a manufacturing-based economy many, many years ago. I think now, safe to say that our economy is more driven by services and consumption. You know, and also, you know, sometimes people look at the Americas and they say, well, you know, it's a big market. It's fairly mature. But I think that's a mistake. And especially if you look at the part of the market where FARFETCH is present, which is the online luxury fashion space. The United States represents a significant share of online luxury fashion sales. As recently as a few years ago, it was above 50% of all online luxury fashion purchases were in the United States. And that's steadily been coming down as the growth of other markets has started to pick up. But it's still a really, really big market for the industry as a whole across sectors like, you know, clothing, apparel, shoes, beauty, you name it. And within FARFETCH, it's also still our number one market. It's a market that's, again, hugely important. But I think my role is really to sort of bring it to life, you know, to tell the story of our market through the lives of our clients, the lives of our private clients. You know, one of our biggest private clients, you know, she's based in Mississippi. It's a place that probably, if you're thinking about, you know, how to market to the luxury consumers, you know, maybe that wouldn't be the first place that comes to mind, but it's a place where we know that there's incredible demand. It's a place that we know that if we can learn and think about the way that that customer thinks about our market, thinks about our brands and our industry, we can have a better chance of establishing a relationship with that customer. So, you know, I think part of what I love to talk about is the diversity of our market, some of its key attributes. But I think it's a mistake to sort of just try and say, well, tell us about the Americas. You know, it's much richer than that.
And while on the topic of, you know, customers, and, you know, I know at FARFETCH we talk a lot about customer centricity. Jeff, I thought it would be great if you could share one of your favorite amazed customer moments with us.
Yeah, actually, there's so many. I was trying to think about which one to share because I think that's one of the values we have at FARFETCH is amaze customers. It's one of our 6 values, and we try to live it every day. This story I decided on because I just loved it. I thought it was just a great one, and every time I think about it, it makes me smile. We had a customer. He was a private client of FARFETCH, someone who's, you know, shopping with us quite frequently, spending a fair amount, and he was hosting bat mitzvah for his daughter. She was, you know, getting ready for this celebration, and the father was leaving he was not sparing any expenses for his daughter. So he was preparing for her bat mitzvah. I won't share exactly the amount of money that he told us he was spending on her bat mitzvah, but suffice to say that it would buy you a house in certain parts of the United States. This is the amount of money he was, you know, showering on his daughter for the celebration of her bat mitzvah. But as it got close to the actual celebration, he was in search of one thing that she had been very clear she wanted as a present for her bat mitzvah. She wanted to wear it to the actual celebration. And it was a pair of sneakers that were part of a collaboration that Rihanna, her Fenty brand, did with the sneaker brand Puma. This is this Fenty Puma sneaker that was really difficult to find. It was in a purple colorway, so like a rare colorway. And he spoke to his private client stylist at FARFETCH. And we have this service that's available to our private clients. It's called Fashion Concierge. And as you can think of the name, like Fashion Concierge, the job is to really go out and solve, you know, fashion's most difficult challenges for you and find anything that you're looking for and, you know, be able to provide it for you. So he gave this challenge to the Fashion Concierge team. The sneakers, I think they retailed for something like $150, this special collaboration. I don't know the exact amount. And our team was able to find them, but they were finding them at a marked up price, you know, because they were so rare and they were so highly coveted. I think they were sold for $375 by a reseller who obviously was turning himself a nice tidy profit on the sneakers. And, you know, relative to the amount of money that the father was spending on the bat mitzvah, $375 was kind of a rounding error. So it wasn't like he was, you know, paying a king's ransom to get the sneakers. Yet he told us that of everything related to his daughter's bat mitzvah, the thing that he knew was going to make her happiest was the Rihanna Fenty Puma sneakers. And he said that we literally saved his life, saved the day, came through for him in such a major way and made his daughter's kind of dreams come true. So I thought of that story because I thought it was so cool. Like, you know, it doesn't matter the price. It doesn't matter the amount you spend. It's just being there for customer to really provide an essential service and kind of just like amaze them, come through for them in a major way. And I thought of that father and his daughter. And again, it makes me smile just thinking about it.
Absolutely. And his daughter has incredible taste with those Rihanna
Totally.
shoes, the Rihanna Puma collaboration. And Fashion Concierge being able to deliver on that experience as well is great.
Absolutely.
Jeff, amazing story. Like Amanda said, great taste. Part of this, and what you mentioned, is FARFETCH adapting a bit to the necessities of the market, be it like private client or just higher VIP orders. What do you think the main challenges are for the market in 2021?
It's a great question, Santi. I think there are many challenges, and that's part of what makes the job exciting. Challenges are just opportunities, looked at through a different prism. I guess I'll start with some of the macro challenges that we face, and they're different across the various regions where we operate. If I think of, some of the challenges we've been facing over the last, 12, 18 months in the South America market, there's been really significant currency movement, devaluation of some of the major currencies where we have businesses, the Brazilian real, Mexican peso, and a currency devaluation is tough because it makes products that are being imported more expensive, but it also makes your ability to purchase those products less effective because your currency is worth a little bit less. So, against those headwinds, our teams have been really resourceful, have just continued to find, creative ways, creative solutions, and, just tried to make the role that we play in the lives of our customers, more and more essential. And we've been able to continue to hit our targets, which is really exciting to see. And even despite some of these significant headwinds. Another one, I guess, on the macro kind of column is, the world went into lockdown, which meant that a lot of the consumption that I talked about earlier moved from offline to online. And with this incredible shift of offline to online, we obviously benefited from that, given that we're, predominantly an online business. I think someone said, like 10 years of shift was condensed into 1 year. And, this sort of massive escalation of online commerce has been a boom for businesses like ours. Against a really challenging backdrop. But many businesses, many supply chains and just global logistics were probably not quite as prepared as maybe they could be for this. So if you think of the logistics that are relied upon by businesses like ours, they're also relied upon by the Targets of the world and the Walmarts and the Amazons, and kind of anything that you can order online is going to these same channels. Interestingly, and a lot of people don't know this, but another way that products move through the global kind of e-commerce logistics supply chains of the world is in the belly of commercial airlines. So if you or I were flying to London, our luggage would be on board this airline, but so would some people's packages. Packages that are en route from a store to a customer's home in London. And with the significant decline in commercial airline travel, there were just less routes available to businesses that used to rely on these commercial airlines for, freight options. So, like a massive influx of demand, but a massive constraint around supply led to a lot of friction. Other things like, in a day of social distancing, people maybe didn't necessarily want to sign for their package and accept it, straight from the hands of the delivery person. So there was a big spike in, the signature release, no signature required. And obviously when you're selling and transmitting and transferring, values of significant, items of significant value, you like the signature option because it sort of protects, the seller and the buyer from the opportunity of something going wrong. But with people opting out of signature requirements, then that leads to some challenges. It leads to sometimes packages being left without a signature, which can then, go missing, never be reaching the intended recipient. And so on. So, lots of challenges that I think are unique to the moment that we're living through. And that just causes businesses like ours and our partners, our logistics partners and things like that to have to adjust. A favorite challenge of mine, I kind of go back to logistics again, but it's just last mile. I think one of the benefits we're seeing from this influx of e-commerce in our lives is people are getting more and more used to the immediacy of sort of, if I order it online, it can be delivered to me by someone on an electric bike, within an hour or two. And, then the bar is raised kind of for everyone, even, whether or not you're prepared for it. So last mile, or that idea of getting it to the customer, with a high degree of efficiency and quality, having the right mix of carrier partners and things like that. is just kind of an emerging new challenge, I'd say, or maybe not such a new challenge, but something that's increasingly important in the mind of consumers, and something that I think we'll continue to try and sort of be innovative and always stay ahead of the trend and do our best job to make sure the last mile for our customers, again, is done with efficiency and quality. Other challenges there are always going to be. One that's unique to us at FARFETCH is, we spent the last 12, 13 years building this incredible business that is like an incredible, marvelous logistics machine and cross-border delivery machine, and the ecosystem of products we have is unrivaled in the industry. And yet still so many people don't know about us as a company. They don't know about our brand. Our CEO likes to say we have this problem of a huge business and a small brand. Well, we've been fortunately making some headway in that area over the last few years. But I think we have so much more upside and so much more room to grow the FARFETCH brand, that people begin to know us and love us and consider us for, all the various things we can do, kind of on the direct-to-consumer angle, and also across the industry, that other partners see us as truly a partner in waiting, a potential partner in waiting. I don't know, those are some of the challenges that I think about, some of the things that get me excited to hop out of bed in the morning and, run to my laptop and get started.
And Jeff, are you seeing, as part of the last mile strategy, drones in the future of FARFETCH delivery services?
That's a great question. I wouldn't count us out. I'm going to say that as of today, I'm not aware of any projects that are based on drone delivery. But if any company in our sector were going to do it, it would be FARFETCH. We definitely like to try and sort of be at the cutting edge, be revolutionary. In the past, we've done things like 90-minute delivery with the brand Gucci across nearly 20 cities globally. So if you had a true fashion emergency, FARFETCH and Gucci were there teamed up, ready to deliver your favorite Gucci item in less than 90 minutes. So I wouldn't count us out.
Amazing. Well, talking about drones and other high-tech stuff, which my feeble mind cannot comprehend, Jose has mentioned that fashion is in fact shifting, and the paradigm has shifted as well. How does FARFETCH adjust to that shift?
It's interesting, Santi. I think in terms of how we adjust to the shift, it suggests that we have to change something that we're doing. I would make the argument that FARFETCH was really born for this moment, and that we've been doing this from day one. When I had the chance to interview for FARFETCH and I had a chance to sit down and meet Jose for the first time, I asked him what were the three biggest milestones that, in his opinion, made the difference to FARFETCH being the company that it was at that stage, which was about a 7-year-old company. And had they not happened that way, they just wouldn't, the company wouldn't be the same. And one of the first ones he mentioned was being a global company from day one, not building a solution that would deliver packages from the west of London to the east of London, but rather partners across 5 countries delivering to consumers, wherever those consumers might live. That was a really novel and innovative idea for the time. Companies are still trying to figure out, well, what is our omni-channel strategy? How do we sort of blur the lines between physical and digital? And FARFETCH has been doing this from day one. We were connecting the inventory of boutiques scattered across multiple countries to consumers wherever they might live. That sort of idea of, one address where you could shop some of the world's leading boutiques, farfetch.com, was really innovative from day one. So, and at the same time, we were doing this right in the midst of a recession. 2007, 2008, when the company was born and launched, it wasn't the best time, if you recall, for the economy. Lehman Brothers had collapsed. People were losing jobs. Companies were going out of business. And this was the time that Jose chose to launch this truly innovative marketplace for luxury fashion. But being born out of a recession, I think, as a solutions-minded organization that was bringing, revolutionary technology to bear to help transform the way that people were shopping, I think it's still the kind of thing that we're doing today. So if you think of the challenges of this last year, we were there at the ready to be able to support our boutiques. We even ran a campaign called #SupportBoutiques. So whilst those boutiques had to close their doors and couldn't serve customers who would have been coming in normally, both locally and also, internationally, tourists shopping from other countries, These businesses had to close their doors, lock up shop, but they were still able to serve customers globally through FARFETCH. So again, challenges represent opportunities. It's just a different way of looking at it. A big part of how this happens, I think, it's people. We have some really, really incredibly gifted, talented, brilliant people at FARFETCH working on some of the most challenging, complex topics. And that's been that way since day one. I think sort of in the mold of Jose, who himself is, equal parts, sort of fashion entrepreneur, having started a shoe brand and a boutique, being awarded British Fashion Retailer of the Year, and also technologist, a guy who was coding and building websites and tech platforms, since his teenage years. So I think, getting the right mix of talents, the right brains and the left brains all working together to solve these things, it makes the difference. I think we don't do any of this by ourselves. If we didn't have partners, we wouldn't have a business. I sort of touched on some of our partners earlier in the kind of courier space, third-party logistics providers. But when we say partners, our biggest partners, the ones who we really, really, treasure and love and just cherish, it's the many, many boutiques and brands that sell via FARFETCH, and the many, many companies that have chosen FARFETCH to be their platform services provider through the FARFETCH Platform Solutions, where we, power their websites or power other aspects of their online businesses. We are a partner-focused company. Again, we rely on them for certain aspects of the value chain. Without that, we don't have a business. We don't see the industry as a zero-sum game where some are winners and many others are losers. We really see it as building collectively a healthier, stronger, just better ecosystem for the industry and to kind of really strengthen it for the future, again, using revolutionary technology. So I think that's a big part of it as well, as, this sort of paradigm shift towards, being inclusive and working collaboratively and working sustainably for a stronger future. I think FARFETCH really is at the vanguard of a lot of that. And as I sort of think of some of these examples, I'm thinking of not just like, these sort of broad brushstroke, truisms. I'm thinking of real partners, real boutiques. We have a boutique in FARFETCH in Barcelona that's been around for nearly 300 years. Just think about that. This is a boutique that started its life selling fashion, men's fashion at the time. I think it was in the 18th century or 19th century. This is a long, long time ago. And now, today, it's serving customers globally via the FARFETCH platform. We've had boutiques that have had to be closed down again, down to the pandemic or the lockdown, due to economic or political crises in their countries, that have continued to sell via our platform to a global audience. And I just think that those kinds of stories, those kinds of things that our platform has helped to enable are really the essence of FARFETCH, where people talk about solutions providers. I think we're kind of the ultimate solutions provider. Our solutions come in the form of, again, technology and innovation and creativity. And it's just cool to be a part of that, bringing about change to this industry. So I guess, to answer your question, how do we adjust to the shift? I think we're part of the adjustment enablement. We're an enabling force of adjustment for the industry, if you want to think about it like that.
Wow. Mic drop. That's crazy. Amazing, thoughtful question and response. Jeff, thank you so much.
Definitely. I think, Jeff, what you said really hits home for Santi and I. Working on the partner success team, we're supporting the partners, through every stage of the life cycle and their journey. And it's great to be a part of that.
Absolutely. You guys are, MVPs as well. I see the results on a daily basis, and I see all the hard work that goes in to make sure that our partners' businesses are successful on FARFETCH. It's such a huge part of it. In a marketplace, you have just the two sides of the balance. You have the customers or the demand side, and you have the partners or the supply side. And they really have to work, in kind of equal balance with each other. They both have to be successful. The gains have to exceed the effort expended on it. And I think, you guys are, again, like I said, MVPs, just making the partners' lives that much easier and really making a huge part of our business successful.
Great. Well, earlier in the episode, Jeff, we talked about you and your leadership role at FARFETCH. I'd like to kind of come back to that and, understand what being a leader means to you. And also if you have any advice for our listeners that are looking to develop their leadership skills.
That is a great question. It's a really, really great question. It's a difficult question to answer only insofar as how to, distill a lot of the learnings I've had in my career, a lot of the advice that's been given to me or examples that have been modeled for me into an answer that doesn't take up another hour of everyone's time. But I'm going to do my best. I think we're sort of all the products of, our environments and our upbringing and, the nature, of who's made us what we are. But I think in all of that, we're each also unique individuals. I'm not going to make a corny analogy like snowflakes or something like that, where each one is unique, but it's not dissimilar. We're each our own unique person. So I think part of being the best leader is sort of understanding your best self, and what that looks like. You probably know yourself better than anyone else knows you. So you likely know, your worst habits, but also your best, most aspirational behaviors and habits as well. And I think it's a conscious choice of trying to always sort of bring your best self to any situation that you're involved with. And I think part of that is, maintaining an optimistic outlook. Some people would probably describe themselves as pessimists or optimists. I don't think we're just one or the other. I think we have phases of our days, of our weeks, of our lives where we're one or the other. But I think when it comes to being a leader, you have to consciously choose to be positive. You have to look at the upside and the potential of things and not, seek to first and foremost jump on or focus on the downside or the kind of negative aspect of things. I quote a lot of other great leaders or people that have been instrumental in certain fields, and one of my one of the quotes I come back to a lot is, it's the true mark of a leader that he never doubts for a moment the potential of his team to accomplish anything that they set their mind to. And again, that sort of mindset, I think, says a lot about leadership. That if you just add your belief to the belief that someone has in themselves or in the project that they're leading, it's going to actually be a pretty important ingredient to it. It's just the positivity that it sends. It is really valuable. I say to my leaders that I work with a lot, their primary job, the most important thing they do is to create the right environment for success. Each person within that environment on the team has then the choice to be, adding to that environment in a positive way. But if the environment isn't right, whether that's down to the clarity of the mission or the culture or the values that have been set up around that environment, then it's really difficult for people to be successful because the conditions aren't there for success. So the job of managers is to focus on a positive environment, make sure that environment is positive from the outset. And I guess to round it out, again, in all of this, I said choosing to be your best self, having a positive outlook, creating a positive environment. I think, again, to the uniqueness of each of us, there's sort of really only one way I think that you can do that. And that's to be natural, to be your most authentic self. There's probably a lot of research in psychology into this, and I'm neither an academic nor a psychologist, so I won't pretend to be, but that if you're not being your natural self, if you're not being your most authentic self, then you're having to expend energy on adapting yourself. And that energy might not be well spent. If it's taking a lot of effort, then, over time, it's going to be difficult to sort of maintain a high level of quality and to continue to replicate. Actually, the easiest thing you can do is just be yourself, be your authentic self. Now, being your best authentic self requires you to have a good, solid foundation. It requires you to have, a good sort of balance in terms of just mental and psychological health, physical health, good energy levels. I think, my foundation comes in the form of my family, my loved ones, my friends, my colleagues at work who I consider friends, the things that I do that give energy into me that I can then, expend out. And I thought about, in advance of this question, one thing that I could do just to kind of show, again, for me, something that's truly authentic is to actually name a few of the people that have been really massively helpful to my leadership journey and responsible for that journey. Because in so many respects, part of who I am and part of what makes me an authentic leader, I believe, is, I'm very grateful. I have such gratitude for these people and the role they played in my life. So I'm just going to name a few names. Feels funny. I'm not having these sort of delusions of accepting an Oscar or something. This is not my thank you speech, but it is a way for me to just express my gratitude for the role that some people have played in my lives. And so I mentioned one earlier, Susan Dallenmeyer, who's the founder and CEO of Anakini, and she taught me so much. I almost feel like, I was learning the trade as you would learn, if you set up shop in a flea market or at a bazaar, you're just learning the hustle, you're learning the buy and the sell, and you're learning the marketing, and you're learning the sales speech and all of that. And Susan was just so genuine in all of what she did. And I learned a lot, at at her elbow. Another one is a guy called Jean-Philippe Hequet, who was a VP at Louis Vuitton during my time there, and then went on to become the international retail director of Tag Heuer and brought me along to work with him at that brand, and has gone on to have a really illustrious career at a number of different brands. And again, just a really authentic, warm, caring, genuine guy who just taught me a lot about not just what you do that's important, but how you do it. I can't not mention the guy who was the first boss I had at FARFETCH who brought me here, which is Andrew Robb. Andrew, I've known for over a decade. He and I studied together many years ago at the same business school. And actually, he called me out about a year into being at FARFETCH. And he told me, because he knows me so well, that he felt like the person I was being at FARFETCH wasn't the true me. It wasn't the authentic me, that I was adapting myself in some ways to be a more professional, more corporate version of myself. And that I just needed to kind of relax a little bit and just be who I was. And hearing it from him, somebody I truly love and treasure and admire and respect, actually really hit home for me. And it made me sort of look at myself and who I was being to my team, that maybe they weren't getting the best version of me. And then the last person I have to thank here, it's again, just to be my most authentic self, it's my brother. And my brother, Chris Fowler, he works for the USO, which is an organization which helps veterans of the U.S. Armed Forces, taught me everything I know about work ethic, about putting your heart and your soul into everything you do. He embodies the best of our father, who taught us both a lot of really important life lessons. And I think he's, the kind of like soul and spirit of my father is very alive and well on my brother. And honestly, he's my inspiration in a lot of ways for trying to be the best leader that I can be. And if I ever need a reminder, I just look at things that he's doing or has done, and it just gives me that boost. So, I guess it sort of boils down to that: being your best self, choosing to be positive, creating a positive environment for others. And most importantly, just be you, be authentic, bring the best version of you to work every day, and people will respond to that.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Jeff, for sharing your perspective on leadership, and then also taking a moment to recognize the leaders that have influenced your career and your path.
My pleasure.
I hate doing horrible follow-ups to such a thoughtful response, but Jeff, here at Threads, we're big believers of authentic leadership, like you mentioned, which means we need to know that you can lead by example. Is it true that you are wearing a hashtag FARFETCH fit?
Oh yeah, every day. I am, I practice what I preach. I put my money where my mouth is. So every day when I show up, it might be pajama bottoms on the bottom someday. I'm not going to lie. But everything, top, bottoms up, it's always FARFETCH. It's always a FARFETCH fit. I always try and sort of, support the home cause.
Amazing. Would you be willing to run us and do an authentic fit check? If you have pajama bottoms, don't let us know.
Wow.
Just
No, so I don't today. I made sure that I showed up. Today, I'm kind of like my most formal self, especially considering we're working from home offices, and have been for the better part of this last year. Normally, I'm in a much more relaxed fit, but it happens that I'm going into New York later today, into the city. I live in the suburbs. That's why I'm saying going into New York. Going into New York City later today and having dinner in the city with my wife. So I'm dressed up a little bit. But let's see, from the bottoms up, I'm wearing a pair of Moncler hiking boots, suede brown, chocolate brown, suede Moncler hiking boots. Actually wearing a Moncler khaki trousers as well. I will say trousers for the UK listeners out there, not pants. But some Moncler trousers, khaki colored. I'm wearing a Brunello Cucinelli button-down shirt. It probably was my size before the pandemic, but thanks to the lockdown 15, it's probably a little small on me at the moment, bit tight. These buttons are screaming out for help, but you can't see that because over the top I'm wearing it would otherwise be a very itchy, but because I'm wearing that Brunello Cucinelli shirt, it's not itchy. It's like an Aran style. I guess I'd describe it as like a forest green knit sweater from Thom Browne, which is one of my favorite brands. I really love Thom Browne's style. And this is kind of not the typical Thom Browne look, but it's a nice chunky, very warm green sweater. So yeah, I guess I look a little bit like a professor, to be honest, but it's okay for the purposes of today, going out to dinner with my wife. So
amazing. Great fit. You guys can't see it, but it looks amazing, by the way. And yeah, you did teach us a lot today. And in the spirit of that, what can you tell us about your last FARFETCH Cop? What's the last thing you FARFETChed, Jeff?
Oh yeah, that's a great question too. And I was hoping you would ask it because I've been on a recent homewares kick on FARFETCH. I've just been fascinated to discover the wealth of product that we have on the homewares category, and I'm really excited about it. So I'm just, part of it is, like I said, I live in the suburbs. I actually moved out here with my family, my wife, and we have 2 little boys this past year, and we needed a bit more space than the city was able to provide. So I've been kind of adding these little things into the home. Last few things I have, can't see it because it's out of eyesight, but it's an off-white pillow. It's made of mohair. It's black with a neon purple kind of diagonal stripe design. And that's sitting on my armchair over in the corner. And then I bought these really beautiful, extremely delicate porcelain mugs, coffee mugs, from a brand called Ginori 1735. I think the 1735 is in reference to the fact that that's when the brand was founded, I believe. It's an Italian bone china and porcelain kind of maker. And these are these really, really delicate cups. And I actually saw them at a local store in my area. I just happened to be out and about with my wife, but I wasn't there to buy anything. I was just it caught my eye. And then when I got home later that day, I Googled the brand. And then one of the first places that popped up that sells Ginori, and Google must know me pretty well, was FARFETCH. And I was like, oh my goodness, we sell these beautiful porcelain mugs, so Ginori 1735. And I bought them, and they were shipped to me from a boutique in Italy. And I'm glad I bought them at FARFETCH, because actually the shop where I saw them and where I was inspired, they didn't have this particular size of mug, which is what I was looking for. So yeah, those are my 2 most recent FARFETCH cops: the mohair off-white pillow and the Ginori 1735 porcelain mugs.
I have to ask, what is in the quotes on the off-white pillow?
It says home.
Got it. I was thinking sleep or nap, but nope. Yeah, makes sense.
It's more of a lumbar pillow. It's not, you could sleep on it, but it's more for your lower back. And it's comfy. My Springer Spaniel is the one who uses it the most. She sleeps on this chair in the corner and lays her head on this beautifully designed mohair pillow. It's getting loved and used. So
amazing. Just that confirms that, first of all, luxury is for everyone. Even
indeed, even for the dogs. And also shout out to the CEO marketing team for hitting you up with those really nice ads so you could find everything you need on FARFETCH. Absolutely.
But it's amazing, Jeff. We need a home tour eventually, maybe a video. I don't know. Got to get this content rolling. But I think I speak for all of us here that it's been an amazing conversation. You've made all of our Fridays that much better. And today was a good Friday, and thank you so much for being here. Thanks to everyone who's listening. Jeff, you have the floor if there's anything else you want to plug before you go. If not, thank you so much for being here.
No, honestly, I'm just really grateful to you guys, and I was humbled to be invited to speak today on the podcast. I was really, really pleased that it was going to be with Amanda and Santi, who are part of the team that I'm a part of here in North America, and 2 people that I've really gotten to know and admire, and I know are just excited and passionate about the podcast space. And we've been sort of talking about this for a little while, so it was cool to be able to be a part of this project with you. Unsung hero Bella, who you guys don't hear from, but is very much here and behind the scenes. It was great to work with Bella on this project as well as part of the FARFETCH Threads series. And I've been listening to each and every one of these, and hopefully people are tuning in and finding them helpful and learning a lot as we go. And I'm just looking forward to more from the series. So was really, really grateful to be a part of the experience. Thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you never miss an episode of FARFETCH Threads by subscribing to our Spotify and FARFETCH People YouTube channel. If you're ready to do what's never been done, visit farfetchcareers.com